Is Clint, and this is Yin Yoga. And today, the class is going to be a wall class. So you need to find yourself a wall because half of the class will be on the wall. And if you can move your mat so that the short edge is right up against the wall, that would be great. You want to get the mat right up against the baseboard because for many of the poses, your sit bones are going to be right on the wall. And to start is going to be a little bit of a challenge. You're going to start, if it's within your practice, in a yoga squat. But there's a twist, not really a twist. You're going to be up against the wall. So if you normally do your yoga squat with a couple of blocks, you would get up high, maybe, and your blocks would be, maybe an inch or two behind your heels, and then you would just come down and sit on the blocks. And that way you take some of the tension off of your thighs and your legs. Well, today, what you want to do is to have your spine right on the wall. So you can do the same thing by coming close to the wall. Have your feet, your heels, try maybe 6 or 8 inches in front. And then you can even put your butt on the wall and then just slide down the wall. And you'll come to a point where you can straighten your spine, and then notice if your sacrum is on the wall. If it's not, you have to get a little bit closer. So maybe you can just push closer and move your feet back an inch or so, and try again. The other option is to do it the way that you have in the past with the blocks. Priscilla's knees are bothering her right now, so she has elevated herself on a step stool plus a block. So from here, maybe you even want to put a block under, but try to straighten your spine so that your spine is pushed up against the wall. Straighten the crown of your head up towards the ceiling. Now your hands together in Anjali Mudra. Just keep your hands together and using your elbows at your inner thighs and to push out a little bit. But remember, you're to relax in this pose. So allow your eyes to close. Take a deep cleansing breath in through your nose and sigh it all out through your mouth. Take another deep cleansing breath in through your nose and sigh it out through your mouth. And take rest, or allow your breath to come to its own natural rhythm in and out through your nose. I'll mute the people who just came in. Camera's back on. So breathing in and out through your nose. Do a body scan. You can feel this in your groins and in your quads and in your hamstrings. When you push your spine against the wall, it straightens up, lengthening your side body. It actually relaxes your shoulders. Notice where you feel this pose and breathe into those locations. And see if you can soften your pelvic floor muscles, your mula bandha that you use when you're doing Ashtanga or a vinyasa. Relax your arms. They don't have to be pushing out into your legs real hard. See if your thighs and the backs of your legs, your hamstrings, are softening. You're going to be here about another minute because it took quite a while to get into the pose. Plus, this is a great stretch for your lower body. Throughout today's class, your breath is going to play a major role. You will use your breath to help soften your muscles. And then as your muscles begin to soften, the tension from your body position will be transferred into your fascia, your connective tissues. That will stimulate them. And over time, your fascia will lengthen and give you more mobility so that you can move closer to the maximum your bone structure will permit. Every body is different. Every position is different for each person. And it's my job to help you find the best way, the most effective way to bring a stretch to your body. Begin to deepen your breath. Open your eyes. And the next pose is going to be caterpillar. So if you aren't wedged so tightly against the wall that you can release a foot or both feet towards the front of the mat, you can do that. Or you can just push yourself forward onto your hands and knees and then come on to sit bones into caterpillar. And coming directly here is probably the best counter pose for that squat. So from here, stretch your heels far forward, straighten up your spine again. And then on an exhale, slowly walk your hands towards your feet, along the outsides of your legs, drawing your collarbones towards your feet, until you come to that first bit of resistance and pause there. That's the first part of your edge in caterpillar, when your body resists. So pausing there allows your body to understand what you're about to do and what you're doing and where you're going.
If you use blocks in Caterpillar, make sure that you have them handy. And then listen carefully. If you wish to try a little more, just come up halfway, maybe just a few inches. Lengthen your spine, pushing your collarbones forward again, and then forward folding any bit more. And this time, just allow your spine to round, allow your head to fall forward. And if your knees or your legs are holding you back, maybe tuck a block underneath. That will signal them that they can soften and let your body go. You're getting a nice stretch of your spine, lengthening your spine, putting a little bit more space between each of your vertebrae, stretching your thoracolumbar muscles alongside your spine, stretching your lumbar area, your back. You're even stretching your hip flexors. By moving your head from side to side, or making little tiny circles with your nose, you can tell if your neck is gripping, if it's holding tension. That is not the feature of this pose. Maybe this movement will soften the body. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, slowly walk your hands back towards your hips. If you were using any blocks, carefully remove. Bring your hands behind your hips, bend your knees, and then once you lever your knees from one side to the other, slowly at first, so that you can relish the feeling of your body coming to its own relief. I find this absolutely fascinating, how your body, which has no mind of its own, that works on autopilot mostly, but how it knows when we need extra care. And the next time you come to center pause, from here, just swing your legs around one side or the other and come over into table pose, facing away from the wall. And from here, do a couple of cat-cows. It's only going to be a couple. And the next time you come to center pause, take your right arm out to the side, and then on an inhale, lift that arm up. And on an exhale, thread the needle, bringing that left hand behind your right hand behind the left wrist, way over to the left side. Come all the way down onto your right shoulder, maybe your right cheek. Your knees are directly below your hips. If you'd like, you can take that left arm out and up. Maybe bring it around behind your back and reach for the top of your right thigh. And breathe here. Feel this stretch across your obliques. Those are the muscles that guide your twisting. You're opening up your right shoulder with an inward rotation, and your left shoulder with another inward rotation, but from behind. Begin to deepen your breath. Bring that right hand back down by your face. With an inhale, lift up. Take your right arm out to the side and up. And then come back down. Take your left arm out to the side and up. Doing thread the needle on the other side. And then on an exhale, thread the needle, taking that left arm way off to the right. Coming down onto that left shoulder. And feeling that stretch. You're stretching your rotator cuff, all those muscles of your front and back body. If you'd like to stretch that right shoulder, reach out with your right arm, and then maybe up. Bring it behind your back and reach towards the top of your left thigh. It's not necessary to do, but if it's within your practice, your shoulder will appreciate it. And then soften into this pose. If your toes are curled under, maybe take your toenails down to the mat. Soften the tops of your feet. Soften your abdomen. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, return your right hand next to your face. Push the floor away, retrieve your left arm out and up. And return it down to the mat. Do a couple of cat-cows here. This is bringing more synovial fluid to your joints, giving you a little bit more lubrication. And the next time you're at center, pause. From here, going into child's pose, spread your knees wide, bring your toes together, and if your mat's not wide enough, find a towel. Bring your hips back down toward your heels, and then walk your arms out towards the front of the room. Maybe you can bring your head down to the mat. Maybe not. Maybe you need a towel or a block, which is perfectly fine. But stretch those arms forward and hollow out your armpits. You're lengthening your spine. You're opening up your shoulders in a different way than through thread the needle. And if you have a good stretch on your arms right now, that's good. If you'd like a little bit more, maybe lift your hips up just 2 inches, walk your hands forward just a touch, and then begin to lower your hips back and down. So your arms are now in traction. There are a couple of other options that you can do that they don't really require much movement. But with your palms flat on the mat here, maybe just roll your hands onto the pinky side of your hands so that your palms face toward each other. You're rotating your arms here and see how that affects your shoulders. Not a lot, but it might be meaningful to you. If you'd like to try it the other direction, just come back down with your palms and then roll up a little bit onto your thumbs so that your palms are starting to look outside. That's really opening up your armpits. And then go to whatever feels best for you. One might be significantly different. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, bring your hands back towards your shoulders. Push the floor away, coming up into table one more time. Do a couple of cat cows. And the next pose, the last one on the mat, is going to be bridge. So from here, walk your hands and knees off to one side of your mat. Come down onto a hip. And then make your way onto your back. Make sure you have a block handy, but your feet should be towards the wall. From here, bring your hands down next to your hips. Bend your knees and walk your feet up towards your sit bones. Tuck your tailbone under. And on an inhale, lift your hips up towards the ceiling. Feeling a nice stretch in your quads as you get higher. Maybe drag your heels towards your shoulders and your knees towards the wall. That lifts your hips again. And then slowly lower back down. This time, grab your block. And on your next inhale, lift your hips up and place the block the highest way you feel comfortable below your sacrum. Your sacrum is that big triangular flat-shaped bone that hangs between your wings of your pelvis. From here, once you're stable, if you're stable, you can walk your feet towards the front of the mat, towards the wall. Soften your lower belly. Soften your chest. Soften your glutes. Maybe even take your hands and just feel if your glutes are soft. And if they're not, you've identified for your body where to send more blood, more oxygen to allow those muscles to soften. If this is good for you, you can stay. If you'd like an intensification, you can always raise your arms up towards the ceiling and then back towards the wall beyond your head. And when your hands come down, make sure that not only your hands, but also your wrists and your elbows are supported. And then soften your pecs, soften your side bodies. Let the armpits just float down towards the mat. If you're gritting your teeth, separate your teeth. Soften your temples. Maybe you can feel your lumbar spine yielding just a little bit more. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, return your arms back down by your sides. Bend your knees and slowly walk your feet up towards your sit bones. Push the floor away, lifting your hips. Remove the block and carefully lower your hips down. Then bring your knees into your chest. Begin to rock a little bit from left to right, trying to keep your hips forward and your shoulders towards the front of your mat so that you're rolling all the way from your pelvis up to your shoulders, massaging your entire back. And then the next time you come over on the right side, pause there, and then use your hands to push your way up into a seated pose, but that seated pose is right next to the wall. Your feet can be off to the right or left, it doesn't matter, but make sure that your sit bones are on the outside of your mat. Because as you tilt down, first get your hip right on the wall, and then you're going to take your shoulder, whichever one is not on the wall, down exactly onto the edge of your mat. And as you do that, your legs are going to swing up. So from here, swing your legs up. And then scooch your hips towards the wall. Might take a couple of options or a couple of scooches. But here your legs are straight up the wall. And then keeping your left leg where it is, your right leg where it is, slowly lower that left leg out to the side like you're making a snow angel. And let that leg come all the way down as far as you can come. If you come all the way down onto the floor, that's fine. Or maybe just move your right leg off to the right so that your left leg still has a little bit of tension in it. Make sure that your sit bones are on the wall. Scooch forward again. And feel the stretch here in your left leg. Maybe you just want to rest that left hand on that inner thigh. You can feel your groin really being stretched. Well, not only your groin is being stretched, but so are your hamstrings. If you take your hand around behind, you can really feel your hamstrings. And your flexors are being stretched. Your hip flexors on the right are being stretched with that leg going up the wall. Breathe into wherever you feel this. Make sure that you maintain tension in that right leg by pushing your heel high so that you're stretching the back of your right knee. And then just sink down. This pose is similar to dragonfly, but you're getting a lot bigger rotation on your left hip. Breathe into wherever you feel the tension, and you may have discovered that your hamstrings on your right side have begun to engage. If that's the case, bring some more resources and soften those hamstrings too. This is such a nice restful pose on a hot, humid day here in Florida. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, begin to bring that left leg back up towards your right. And then bend your knees, bringing your feet flat onto the wall. Now you're quite close to the wall. That's okay, but push the floor away and lift your hips away from the wall into kind of a modified bridge. Make sure that no weight goes on your neck, and then lower back down. Do that a couple more times, but do it slowly so that you can feel each vertebra as it engages the mat as you come down and as you go up. Maybe you can feel the muscles on the outside of your vertebra. One more. And then the next pose is going to be left swan. So there are a lot of options with swan here at the wall. The first one, you can leave your legs where they are and then lift up, bend that left knee and bring that left knee over your right thigh and then lower back down. This way you get a really fast stress on your hip. If you'd like it a little bit slower, just move your hips farther away from the mat or from the wall. Maybe so that your hips are 6 or even 8 inches from the wall. And then bend your knees with your footprints on the wall. Straighten or push your hips away. Take that left foot up towards the ceiling. You can admire the shape of your calf. And then bend that knee, left knee, and put it over the right thigh, and then come down. Now, that might be perfect for you. You may need to modify where your foot is. If this is too much, just raise your foot up a little bit. Maybe you can walk it up, or maybe you have to lift it up and move it physically and then put your left leg back over. If you need to intensify, just walk your feet down and see what works best for you. And when you have it dialed in, because you have a lot of options here, just let your hips rest either on the floor or just above the floor if that stress is not too much on that left hamstring. You're trying to get into that left hip, that hamstring, and your piriformis. You can modify this a little bit by rotating your hips over towards the right, and that will make this a little bit less intense. Or if you rotate towards the left, you intensify this a little bit. And you don't have to do either. But if the pose becomes too easy or too hard, make an adjustment. You can set that left hand to support that left knee. You can use the hand to intensify this by pushing the knee away a little bit, or just relieving a little bit of weight. Allow your eyes to close here. Go inside your hips. Imagine what's happening. Remember, you can always massage your left glute a little bit, or the back of your thigh, to help to urge and calm those muscles. It shouldn't take much. And use your breath if your mind becomes busy and wants to talk about what you're going to have for dinner later, or bring up some mistake you made years ago, or about the phone call from your daughter just before class. Just note what that brain of yours wants to say, and then gently nudge it aside, breathe deeply, and begin again. When you focus on your breath, you are able to stay in the present, stay in the pose, and get the most out of your body. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, push with your right foot off the wall and release your left leg. Maybe take that left leg up towards the ceiling, and then stretch the other leg up towards the ceiling. And feel gravity calling all of that blood back down to your heart and to your spleen. Maybe move your feet from left to right, like you're waving. Maybe you want to mix some circles with your toes. And then when you're ready, just pause, stretch both heels up, and then walk your feet down just a bit. You're going into swan on the right side this time. So maybe you can deal with swan the same way. Maybe your knee on the right side is a major problem. Maybe your hip is. But in either case, make necessary adjustments. You may want to take your knee, your sit bones farther away from the wall or closer. But when you're ready, again, push with your feet, lifting your hips, and lift your right leg up towards the ceiling. Bring that right ankle over your left thigh, and then come down. I wish you had the sound effects that I have next to me. Priscilla really is enjoying this side. Sigh. But notice if this isn't getting exactly the right spot, make an adjustment or make multiple adjustments. You're trying to stimulate your right hip, your right glutes, and your hip flexors. So do that any way that makes sense. If you want more sensation, walk that left foot down the wall towards the floor. If you want less, you can take it up, or you can take your hips farther away from the wall. And don't forget, you always have a block that you can put underneath your hips. But when you find that sweet spot, pause there. Breathe into your muscles. And just enjoy the stretch. How is your breath doing? Do you have long, steady breaths? Are you breathing deep into your belly? Or maybe just into your rib cage? That might have a lot to do about how intense this pose is for you. Use your breath to modify the pose. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, to extract your right leg, maybe push with your left foot, lifting your hips away from the wall. Straighten that right leg up towards the ceiling, and then let it come over to the wall. And bring your left leg up to meet it. And just pause here for a moment and feel the difference between each leg. Can you feel the amount of blood that you have in each leg? And then maybe rock your feet from one side to another. Maybe point your toes and then flex your feet. And the next pose requires you to move your hips back to the wall. So scoot yourself forward so that your sit bones are right against the wall. Bringing both legs up towards the ceiling. And then keeping your left leg where it is, slowly lower that right leg off to the right, like it's the minute hand on your clock. And come over as far as you can. And if your foot comes down on to your partner,
That's okay.
that's okay. And once you come to that extension that is right for you, just pause. Your muscles might be having a little spasm, trying to get used to this position. But it's all good. Make sure you push that left heel up towards the ceiling. Feel your right groin with all the tension in your right hamstring. If you want to put a block underneath that right leg at any point, go ahead. You're seeking softness here. And if that leg is just pounding away, trying to find some release, it's not worth it. Those muscles will not soften. You can even use that right hand to support the leg. Soften your lower belly. See if you can soften your pelvic floor. And if you want to make an adjustment, either with a little bit more opening or a little bit less, do it. Be kind to your body. Begin to deepen your breath. On your next inhale, slowly return your right leg up the wall. Bring both feet together. And then bend both knees until your feet are touching the wall. And again, push your feet into the wall, lifting your hips up, and then slowly back down. Do that a couple more times. But really take the time to feel your spine as it rolls up. That is the beauty of this counter pose. Doing a normal bridge, you don't get this much sensation. So relish it. And the next time you come all the way down, pause there. Bring the soles of your feet together. And then the pinky toe side of your feet against the wall into butterfly. So your knees are wide, your soles are together. And now you can leave your legs up high or let them come all the way down towards your groins. Whatever is best for you and your body right now. You've had a lot of hip opening here, so this might be a time that you want to take to reach those muscles that never got the right amount of sensation, the right amount of tension, the right amount of stretch. You can use your hands just resting on your knees to push towards the wall gently, maybe only a couple of pounds of pressure, but that will open up your hips a little bit more. But wherever you go, find the place that's right for you and pause there. Now, if you're in the right position for your Shavasana, you can certainly remain here. If you'd like to change the position into caterpillar with your legs straight up the wall, or your legs wide, or your legs wide and your knees bent, or you can even come well off the wall, away from the wall, coming into frog, which would be not unlike that initial yoga squat, but just with a little bit different angle so that you feel this in your hips in a different manner. So you have lots of opportunity to change. Lots of opportunities to find that perfect spot for your hips today. Take a deep cleansing breath into your nose and let it all out through your mouth. Take another deep cleansing breath into your nose. Let it all out through your mouth. And take rest. Begin to deepen your breath. Bring your awareness back into your space. If your knees are up the wall, bend your knees, bring your knees together, and maybe rock a little bit from left to right, and try to make your way away from the wall. Enough clearance for your feet. And if you have to come out of that pose just to give yourself enough space, go ahead. And when you get to a free spot, maybe make some circles with your hips, with your knees, making large circles or ovals on the ceiling. And then in the opposite direction. And then when you're ready, roll all the way over onto your right side. And use the strength in your left hand to rise up into a seated position. Thank you for sharing your practice with me this afternoon. I hope you enjoyed this wall class. Take the peace and the empathy that you practiced on your mat with you and share it with your family, your friends, and those you might meet. Namaste. My name is Clint, and this has been Yin Yoga.